the moment Lewis Hamilton crossed the finish line in 6th place at the Canadian Grand Prix in Montreal. The final result on the timing screens didn't reflect the full reality of what had just unfolded. It wasn't about the position or the points. Something much deeper had happened during those laps, and it became clear immediately after the race. While George Russell was busy celebrating his victory and Max Verstappen wore a frustrated expression from his second-place finish, all eyes shifted to something unexpected. Hamilton's radio lit up with a message that stunned everyone. "Awesome job, Lewis. That was phenomenal driving given everything." This message wasn't your usual technical feedback or routine congratulations. It was personal, filled with genuine admiration. It told the story of what Hamilton had endured and how he had driven not just a race, but a masterpiece of resilience. What most people didn't see during the broadcast was that Hamilton had completed almost the entire race with a significantly damaged car. From lap 13 onwards, his SF25 was compromised. He had lost 20 points of downforce. He was struggling with brake instability, and on top of that, he even collided with a groundhog, which added to the unpredictability of the car's behavior. Despite all of that, Hamilton didn't just hang on, he adapted, he strategized, and he fought. Hamilton's driving wasn't about raw pace or daring overtakes. It was about consistency, precision, and mental strength. Every braking point, every acceleration out of a corner, every lift into a turn was calculated to perfection. He wasn't just saving tires or conserving energy. He was operating like a surgeon, cutting through the challenges with clarity and focus. This level of driving isn't always visible on TV screens or even in lap time comparisons, but it showed up in the telemetry data. It showed up in the subtle changes he made to compensate for the wounded car. The data revealed how Hamilton lifted earlier into turn 3 to stabilize the rear end, how he braked later into the hairpin to maintain track position, and how he even adjusted his brake balance mid-corner based on instinct. And through all of this, he stayed silent on the radio for nearly 20 laps. No questions about tire degradation, no updates about strategy, no frustration about the car's condition, just silence. In Formula One, that kind of silence isn't normal. It's not a void, it's a signal. When a driver stops talking to the team, they're either completely lost or completely locked in. Hamilton was clearly the latter, and the engineers on the pit wall knew it. That's why, when they finally spoke again and said, "You were brilliant, thank you," it hit hard. Because brilliance in Formula One is not just about speed, it's about endurance, about pushing limits quietly when no one is watching. That message wasn't just a compliment, it was a statement of respect. What Hamilton did in Montreal was take a car that by all accounts should have been slipping backward and instead turned it into a defensive machine. He hunted McLarens, fended off Fernando Alonso, and never allowed himself to lose rhythm or control. He managed a difficult car and still performed at a level that made the paddock take notice. Red Bull, however, was not impressed in the same way. Just minutes after the race concluded, they lodged an official protest not against Hamilton, but against George Russell. The claim was that Russell had committed a breach of protocol behind the safety car, but this wasn't the first time they made such a complaint. They did the same thing in Miami. The target remained the same, Mercedes. The accusations were similar, but the stewards once again rejected the protest. So why keep doing it? It's not really about winning the case. It's about disruption. Red Bull knows how to play psychological games. By filing protests, even if they go nowhere, they create friction. They stir the pot. They attempt to break momentum. They know Mercedes is regaining confidence, and the goal is to chip away at that from the outside. But under that strategy lies something even more telling. While the complaint was about Russell, the underlying target was Hamilton, because Red Bull saw something that scared them, not just in Russell's speed, but in Hamilton's control. During the safety car period, Verstappen's tone changed. He was no longer calmly analyzing the race. He became frustrated, questioning strategy and behavior from the Mercedes cars. Russell had slowed just enough to affect Verstappen's rhythm. But behind Russell was Hamilton, and Hamilton wasn't pushing. He was observing. He wasn't looking to attack. He was protecting, not just protecting Russell, but protecting the broader Mercedes strategy. Hamilton knew his car was wounded. He wasn't going to win the race, but he could still influence the outcome. He became a shield. He became a guardian. He controlled the pace from behind and didn't allow Verstappen to make a clean move. This was chess, not checkers. It wasn't about track position. It was about control. And that's what Red Bull feared most. They didn't fear breaking a rule. They feared losing the rhythm of dominance. At the same time, Ferrari was sending out messages of their own. Near the end of the race, Hamilton received a radio message that raised many eyebrows. Maintain current pace, we're gathering data. On the surface, it seemed like a simple instruction, but context matters. Leclerc was ahead of Hamilton on fading tires, his grip was dropping, his lap times were slipping, and yet, Hamilton was told to hold position. Not to attack, not to push, just to maintain. Insiders later explained that the instruction was related to tire management and brake behavior under load. But Hamilton's response or lack thereof spoke louder. He followed the order. He didn't complain, he didn't ask questions, he just delivered consistent lap times, did what was asked and kept his emotions in check. But it wasn't acceptance, it was a quiet form of resistance. A message to the pit wall: I'm doing what you ask, but I'm taking note. Because trust within a team like Ferrari is delicate. It takes years to build and seconds to lose. Hamilton has played this game before. He understands internal politics. He knows when a message isn't about performance, but about hierarchy. And at that moment it became clear to him and to many watching that Ferrari was still figuring out how to manage two top-tier drivers. Leclerc finished ahead on paper, but Hamilton drove the harder race. With a damaged floor, brake problems, and traffic to manage, he still matched Leclerc's pace and in clear air, looked quicker. The body language after the race said it all. Leclerc's smile in parc ferme was a little too big. Hamilton's handshake was a little too firm. And standing between them, literally, was Fred Vasseur, the team principal. That wasn't accidental. That was management. Ferrari is trying to keep balance between their established golden boy and their high-profile new recruit. But tensions are building. Hamilton didn't come to Ferrari to play second fiddle. He came to win. He came to lead. And if Montreal was the beginning of a brewing rivalry, the next few races could be the explosion. The pit wall will be under more scrutiny than ever, because how they handle these dynamics will determine the team's trajectory. Meanwhile, Mercedes was making a different kind of statement. In the background of this dramatic race was a rising star. Kimi Antonelli, the young driver, seen by many as the future of Mercedes, had a quiet but effective race. He stayed out of trouble, showed good pace, and eventually secured his first Formula One podium. But what stood out wasn't the result, it was the timing. As Hamilton was dealing with damage and Russell was battling Verstappen, Antonelli was there, calm and consistent. Yet when the race ended, the spotlight remained on Hamilton. His engineer's voice was the one most heard. The cameras lingered on his debrief, not Antonelli's. That told its own story. Mercedes respects Antonelli, but they still revere Hamilton. And behind the scenes, there's another layer. Toto Wolff sees Antonelli, not just as the future, but as leverage. A way to remind Hamilton that the team has options, that they can plan beyond him. Hamilton, being the tactician that he is, knows this. He's aware that the presence of Antonelli shifts the power dynamics slightly. But he also knows that experience and racecraft still count for something that no simulator can replicate. The Mercedes garage might be polishing the next generation, but they're still relying on the old master to deliver the goods. Max Verstappen, despite finishing second, left Montreal looking unsettled. On paper, he had the fastest car. He should have won, but he didn't, and the reason wasn't strategy or pit stops. It was control. Mercedes looked more united. Russell looked confident. Hamilton looked focused. And the car, though flawed, performed when it mattered most. Verstappen's radio messages weren't just signs of annoyance.